Record heat hits California on the eve of introducing that new stimulus package as Nancy Pelosi blows her top. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Afternoon's LALATE, as we're clearly moved inside amidst record heat across the state of California. This is our 2-hour programming block, starting every day at 3:30 with the check, then going to hazard pay, then FPUC, and then finally rent. Part of our 3.5-hour programming block every day. Incredible news about stimulus today. I'll be covering several subjects. First, breaking news minutes ago about new financial data that shows that Nancy Pelosi's claim that $915 billion for state and locals needed is simply untrue. Second, a report out of a leading publication today claiming that Ted Cruz will singularly undermine next week's bill. Also untrue, as proven by this channel. And third, $19 billion has been found and can now be included with your stimulus checks if the president exerts his executive authority to send out $300 billion he identified 2 days ago. Let's get to the incredible great news across the board. First, about stimulus checks and stimulus package. Next week will be a big week. It will be a big week. Of course, tomorrow's a holiday, but after that, Senate reconvenes. They will see a bill that no one has seen before. And yet the mysterious forces that be have been able to quote Democratic leaders claiming they've seen it when they have not, cite what's in it when they have not seen it, and say that it has things which it does not. That bill being debuted next week will have 3 provisions that you clearly are keyed up about, certainly 2, and total of 4. They are stimulus check. Yes, there will be a stimulus check in there. Extension of FPUC. Yes, that will be in there. K-12 money for schools. And finally, testing. There is nothing else purported to be in there, and these are representations all by Mark Meadows, Chief of Staff to Donald Trump, Steve Mnuchin, Treasury Secretary to Donald Trump, and all the other powers that be have spoken on the record about this. A $550 billion bill that is not a skinny bill. It's not the HEALS Act. It's not the HEROES Act. It's a totally new bill that we have never seen before. Now, overnight, this channel has really been ramping up and taking on fake news, whether it's Republican or Democrat, across the board. The purple power, which is you, have really stepped up as well, calling out false reports left and right. And ironically, and this is incredible great news, a new report does much of that in its own sort of shady little way. If you don't realize, the reason that we're here today in early September with no stimulus checks is because Nancy Pelosi wants $915 billion, that's 915, for state and local. Claims they need it. Has never been able to account for the amount. Cannot explain what is in 915. In fact, Mark Meadows, Steve Mnuchin, a lot of people have said, what is $915 billion? Give us a calculation. She refuses to do so. Well, now I'm going to do it for her. There is no support for the number. If anyone that knows how to basically pull out a calculator, pen and paper like you may do, there's simply nothing that adds up to $915 billion, Ms. Pelosi. And in fact, the numbers across the board are now being revealed in an incredible new report that shows how much states actually need. You certainly understand that the biggest states that need a lot of money or claim a lot of money are California and New York. Well, ironically, they don't add up for 915 either. They don't calculate to 915 billion. California needs a reported 14 billion. New York needs a reported 30 billion. My goodness. Of which, a lot of people say, that much for just one state. Let me show how much other states need. Wyoming needs 250 million, which is barely $250 million if you're doing your conversions. Vermont needs 55 million, which is not even 0.5 of a billion. And New Jersey reportedly needs 1 billion. Needless to say, the new report out today is consistent with a report I detailed last week. Remember Moody's Analytic, a third-party nonpartisan republication? It said that it feels that it's about somewhere around 150 to 300, excuse me, about 150 to 200 billion dollars is needed for state and local. Mark Meadows has offered 300 billion, doubling that. Of course, the report today shows there's no support for 915 billion. A new bipartisan National Governors Association and Moody's Analytics report has cited the need for additional aid to state and local governments to avoid major damage to the governments. But when you pull all the numbers together and add them up, they don't come anywhere near 915 billion. Nancy Pelosi has been accused, and I'm certainly going to accuse that as well, of taking a number and basically tripling it and saying she wants to give state and locals 3 years of what they need today as grant money. The report goes on to say that a lot of states are starting to borrow, which they can and have not. But what's fascinating about the report is it also talks about a lot of states that have hundreds of billions of dollars from the first stimulus package, which is a claim that Steve Mnuchin says, and have not used it. Turning to another subject this morning is the following. Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz, Senator, Republican, and now the subject of a fake news report by a leading national news network. That report claims that Ted Cruz singularly will one-handedly next week derail, kill, torpedo the Republican stimulus bill to be introduced next week. Shocking. It's just, it's like he's it's like he's Darth Vader of the Senate. Oh my goodness. I mean, the title unto itself is just, it sounds like the Wild West. Well, you go to read the article and you're wondering where he said this. There's no quote. Yeah, there's no quote from Ted Cruz ever saying he's going to do such a thing. So you continue to read the article. Is there any quote in the article? Yeah, guess who gave a quote? His chief of staff, his staff member, who didn't say that. Sound familiar? Yeah, it's becoming a little bit too apparent, but a new report out says that he's going to kill the deal. Well, when you look at the report, it actually says that there's a quote on the record from his staff member, and that she does not confirm the statement. She, in fact, says something totally different. So where's the source of this incredulous claim that the entire bill debuted next week, which is Republican, is going to be killed by another Republican? An unnamed source. Oh, an unnamed source close to the negotiations. It's not an unnamed source close to Mr. Cruz, Senator Cruz. It's not a member of his staff off the record, Mr. Cruz, Senator Cruz. It's an unnamed source. Guess what? My unnamed source says that story's a bunch of bogus. And needless to say, it's not the only one that's circulating today. As you know, I detailed yesterday a leading news publication, this is print, nationally is being slammed by this broadcast channel for absolutely every single day, categorically, saying totally inaccurate reports about what's in next week's bill. For example, they said, no stimulus checks, enhanced unemployment benefits of $200. It's going to have PPP money in it. It's going to have another round of this, another round of that. It's going to be at about $1.25 billion. Goodness. It's ironic that the situation is getting so heated that another YouTube channel, which I respect quite well, came out and denounced false reporting yesterday about Mike Pence's coverage. Mike Pence, Vice President of Donald Trump, had a press conference on Friday, and the interview started with a series of questions, and then started with a series of comments by Pence, and then continued with other comments thereafter. Well, guess what the news reports did? They took the first half of the article, the first half of the quotes, and didn't take the second half of the quotes. The second half of the quotes said that he's deeply in favor of stimulus checks. The president's deeply in favor of stimulus checks. No one wants stimulus checks to go out more right away than this president. I mean, it's a very clear quote. Guess what? The quote is omitted repeatedly by certain news publications. The problem continued that same day with Larry Kudlow coverage. Larry Kudlow said in an interview that America would not need stimulus to survive this pandemic going forward later this fall. Okay. The news report said, Kudlow says you don't need stimulus and won't support stimulus. Oh no. No, the remainder of Mr. Kudlow's remarks were that he deeply supports the stimulus package going out next week and thinks that stimulus checks should go to American citizens. Boy, it's as though you have to keep your mouth open and complete the entire sentence and not have a comma in it to get a quick quote from some news publications. As we start the new week, we have to deal with a certain number of things, and those are believing politicians. But now we can't actually believe news reports. We have to believe that Mark Meadows, Steve Mnuchin, Mitch McConnell, Larry Kudlow's claims of what's in the stimulus package are true. They say it includes a stimulus check. They say it includes enhanced unemployment benefits. They claim it includes K-12 and includes testing. They claim it's $550 billion. They claim that it will get approved in 1 week by both houses of Congress. They claim it'll be introduced next week. We have to believe all that to be true. And that is certainly a leap of faith for some viewers. But now we can't even believe news reporters that are covering the event. They're supposed to inform us. As a lot of viewers are now saying, I'm no longer watching broadcast news, thank you. I've had it. And I can certainly feel for you. But there's more good news. And I'm not being facetious or sarcastic. $19 billion has been found that can go towards stimulus checks. Boy, let's get right to it. Wow. So a federal court Friday ruled that Betsy DeVos, her attempt to divert money for the first stimulus package to private schools is illegal, and that money can't be used for that. AKA, the money's now available for your stimulus checks. U.S. District Court Dabney Friedrich, who's actually a President Trump appointee, said that DeVos' plan this summer to divert more than $16 billion, $16 billion, to K-12 education from public schools to private schools is illegal. Thus, the Democratic interim final rule, which conflicts with the unambiguous text of the statute, is void, said a 13-page ruling obtained by LALATE. Well, this case is closed, says Tamerlan Gowdy, attorney for the plaintiffs, told Fox News. A partner at Munger, Toll & Olson said the ruling sends a powerful message from a federal court in D.C. It's a strong statement that it was not lawful. Well, it's also a strong statement that there's $16 billion now allocated. If you don't know what I'm talking about, incredible great news on Friday that said, that I detail on this channel as well, that President Trump identified $300 billion of stimulus money sitting around that he is prepared to send out for stimulus checks. Now, I'm going to be clear about this quote as well. It's a two-sentence quote. It starts with him saying, some may say that I can't do it. There are some theories that I can do it. I'd rather have Congress approve it than have me do it on my own accord. The totality of the statements are basically, he has legal support from his legal team to do it. He'd rather have Congress approve it, but that's where we stand. Now, here's the thing that you have to understand. When we're dealing with $300 billion of stimulus and now $16 billion extra, $316 billion. When you take the number of take the number of people who qualify for stimulus check per the CARES Act 1, which may or may not be a little bit different this time around. I fully understand that. And divide it into 300 billion, not even 316 billion, it comes to 1875. 1,875. Hence, enough money to send out stimulus checks for $1,200 and certainly $500, so that's what the Republicans want to do right now. So why hasn't the president not sent it out? Well, viewers have been deeply critical of this issue, that really the president may be holding a trump card to send it out on the eve of the election to get a pop in the polls. Viewers don't like that. So a lot of viewers are starting to send the tweet out to the president and his staff, send the money. If you've identified now $316 billion of COVID-19 relief that's supposed to be used for American citizens, send out the money now. Why are we going through an exercise over the next 2 weeks to determine whether or not this stimulus package next week is approved by the Temple of Doom or not? when you could just do it yourself right now. What's very important to understand as we sit here, in this video at the 14-minute mark is that 14 minutes is important to everyone, as is 7 days. The representations of Mark Meadows is, okay, we're going to introduce the bill next week, and within 7 days we'll get it done, and it'll be law. That's another 7 days that Americans are waiting around for a check. As you understand, and I want to make very clear, next week will not get you a check. It's the introduction of a bill. Second, there is not going to be a law next week. They're introducing the bill. The law would come the week after, according to Mark Meadows. Third, when it becomes law, it doesn't mean you receive the check the day it becomes law. The check has to be sent out from IRS, as I've detailed on this channel ad nauseum, is that it takes the IRS at least 10 days for them to send the check to you, and about 1 to 3 days for it to process to land in your bank account. So it's 13 days from the day it becomes law for you to receive the funds in your account. So why do we have to wait another 7 days? Why don't we just do executive order last week? Why do we do executive order 2 weeks ago? When was the first time the president identified this $300 billion in funds? Why does he just send the check out now? Some viewers may say, well, it requires act of Congress for approval. That's if it's Treasury money. We've already gone through that exercise once, and that was LWA. Remember of LWA, it was FEMA money. He does not need FEMA. He does not need Congress's approval to send out FEMA money. He needs Congress approval for spending money through Treasury. So where is this $300 billion? It's highly likely it's not Treasury money. Remember, Treasury money is money that's actually allocated. Excuse me, let me back it up. Treasury money is actually money that has not been allocated for something. It's something that's sort of sitting there. In the case of FEMA money, it was already allocated to an agency. He just said, okay, there's an agency that has the money, go use the money. It's highly likely the $300 billion is in an agency fund right now, that he could do an executive order right now, but that we're having to go through an entire process next week of 7 days. For why? This is where I'm going to be deeply critical of the Republican leadership, because perhaps, we don't know, but perhaps the Republicans want to really torch Pelosi and make it look like, hey, we got this done, you torpedoed it when it landed at the House, blame the Democrats come this fall for not giving you stimulus. The president saved the day by sending stimulus checks by executive order thereafter. If it sounds like a script from a reality show, it does. And needless to say, you're the character that's suffering because of this. There is a lot that's coming up today. On hazard pay, there's big developments. As what I have predicted for weeks, in hazard pay, there is now calls for protests across the country in certain hazardous grocery store, essential workplace, frontline worker places of employment. I told you this was happening. It's now happening. And it's a big movement to get people hazard pay. The title of the article's out, are protests for hazard pay. Then on FPUC and LWA, big developments. I mean, I've never seen this. Yes, one state is paying 6 weeks of LWA benefits. Insane. Then rent as well. More additionally, I will have further updates about the fires, the California fires, on the hazard pay video following right after this video. Do me a couple of favors. Go to the front of the channel, hit the subscribe and alert button so you can alert when a new video goes live. We're trying to reach 250,000 subscribers. We're the first channel in the history of YouTube to ever reach 200,000 subscribers in about 3.5 months. I think we can do it. Let's continue to push together Purple Power, and let's reach that goal. Also, if you are subscribed but you do not see a little red icon next to your name, then go to the pinned comment by me that explains what to do to ensure you are publicly subscribed. It involves basically unsubscribing and resubscribing. It's important to subscribe so you get alerts whenever a new video goes live, or an alert from me when I have a new update about something very important nationally. And additionally, I respond to subscribe comments before unsubscribe comments. Finally, like this video. It helps the algorithm. This morning's video was very well received, and I think I got almost 10,000 likes, so let's keep it up. Join me next on Hazard Pay. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, stay focused, and save LA for more.